Welcome to the Good Growing Podcast. I am Chris Enroth, horticulture educator with University of Illinois Extension, coming at you from Macomb, Illinois, and we have got a great show for you today, the spotted lanternfly. Oh, I've heard about it out east, but is it here in Illinois? Well, we are going to learn more about that when we talk with our special guest, Kelly Estes, today. But you know I'm not doing this by myself. I'm joined, as always, every single week by horticulture educator Ken Johnson in Jacksonville. Hey, Ken.
Hello, Chris. It's going to be another excellent episode talking about insects.
You were looking forward to this one. I know you were. It's an insect one. Yes. So everyone, Ken is doing his best to contain himself with this conversation we're going to have today. So it's like a nice little treat at the end of September.
Yes. It's the reward for making it through September.
That's right. You made it through September. Congratulations. Fall's about to start. Your favorite time of year when it starts getting cold. And we're going to get to talk about insects.
Well, I'm not sure it's getting cold anytime soon. Last I checked the weather.
I got the flannels out. I'm ready to watch Charlie Brown's The Big Pumpkin Hunt. You know, we're getting into fall. I don't care what the weather's like. Oh, well, Ken, I think as your excitement is boiling over here, we should probably get started with our topic today. So introducing our special guest. We're happy to have Kelly Estes. So Kelly is the State Ag Pest Survey Coordinator located on campus and in Champaign-Urbana. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. And as a fellow bug nerd, this excites me as well.
I am surrounded by bug people. That's just the way it goes, I think. Well, we are happy to have you. Before we dive into our questions today, could you just tell us a bit about what you do over on campus?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I am on campus at the University of Illinois in Champaign. I am housed at the Illinois Natural History Survey, and my title is State Ag Pest Survey Coordinator, and I work with the Illinois Department of Agriculture, as well as USDA APHIS PPQ. And my primary role is to coordinate invasive species surveys around the state. And so I get to look for all kinds of new insects. Yes, insects. But we also keep an eye on things like plant pathogens. Sometimes we get to look at invasive plants. We talk mollusks sometimes, but a very exciting and interesting job all the time, because in this world that we live in, there's always something new right around the corner. And so our job is to keep track of what's going on around the world, what's going around the US, and look at things that might be introduced to the state of Illinois. And that can be things that affect crops, whether that be corn, soybeans, specialty crops, plants in your garden, as well as things that affect our natural resources, state parks, trees, all sorts of stuff. So lots of variety in my job.
That is a big old plate that you have there. My goodness. And you're looking for new stuff. I don't know if you're necessarily wanting to find the new stuff, but yeah.
No, we don't necessarily want to find it, but and it's always interesting because we do different surveys every year. And the idea is to find it early if it's here, to give us potentially the best shot at eradicating a new pest, or controlling or managing new pests, maybe keep their distribution limited. But one of the most interesting things to try to explain about my job is that a lot of times when we go out to try to do stuff, everybody wants to know counts and numbers and trends. But honestly, for my job, zeros on the data sheet are what we're looking for. So negative data is the best kind of data for me to have with my surveys.
All right. Well, Ken, I guess it is time to dive in for the topic this week. So would you mind kicking us off with the first question, please?
I would love to. All right, so spotted lanternfly. I guess first thing we should talk about is what is spotted lanternfly and why should we be concerned about its
Yeah,
presence?
so spotted lanternfly has been around actually for quite some time, and it's an invasive insect. It's a plant hopper. So plant hoppers have needle-like mouth parts, so it's a piercing, sucking insect, um, and it feeds on a lot of different plants. It prefers tree of heaven, grapevines, but we also got to think other economically important things other than grapes when we start looking at um, this whole host of plants that this insect can feed on, which I think, there's dozens upon dozens, close to 100 different plants it can feed on, though it may not necessarily impact a lot of those. Maples, black walnut, um, willows also are up on that list as well. So we look at the specialty crop impact, but also more of our potential impact to trees in the landscape as well.
So, Kelly, how did this even get here, the spotted lanternfly? I have a good idea, but could you explain it to us, please?
Yeah, so spotted lanternfly is native to Asia. Um, and we first discovered it in the US back in 2014 in Pennsylvania. And since that time, it's become established in several different states out there. And just like it got introduced to the US, it was moved artificially. So it is a great hitchhiker. It's going to move on potentially firewood with eggs, or the adults themselves can easily be moved by planes, trains, and automobiles, actually. So they're very good at hiding in things and hitching a ride to the most unexpected places.
So then probably the question people are curious about, do we have it here in Illinois? And if so, when did it get here? Where do we find it? And I guess is it spreading now if it is here?
Yeah, so it is a relatively new pest to Illinois, actually. We first identified it in Illinois in Cook County in 2023. This has been on our radar for a really, really long time. We've probably surveyed for it somewhere between 5 and 10 years in different pathway surveys or specialty crop surveys, our natural resource type surveys as well. But it finally made its way into Illinois, and we located it in a neighborhood up in Cook County. And as we suspected, and like I mentioned before, it readily moves, hitchhikes lots of different ways. And so it was found near a big railroad, the Norfolk Southern Rail Yard, up there in Chicago. And so since that time, we've been monitoring the area as well as the rest of the state. But right now, we only have confirmation in Cook County still.
So with, like when emerald ash borer was here, there's kind of a quarantine set up in Illinois where you couldn't move ash wood and stuff like that. Is there anything like that for spotted lanternfly? I guess in Illinois or nationally?
So Illinois does not have any quarantines that are limiting the movement specifically of spotted lanternfly. Out in Pennsylvania, there's some statewide quarantines there limiting movement. But honestly, it is really hard to monitor and regulate because it can move so easily through unexpected means, as well as the ways we expect it to move. There's so many different ways for it to move that, like I said, it is hard to regulate. We can't necessarily regulate trains and the inspections that it would take to look at every single rail car coming through the state of Illinois, or um, general traffic. I mean, we do have we have nursery inspectors in the state of Illinois that are keeping track of what's going on in nurseries. There's other materials that are regulated in the state that are also getting inspected. So that's being looked at for lots of different invasives, including spotted lanternfly, but nothing specifically that's regulating spotted lanternfly movement right now.
That's interesting. I remember seeing the maps as it slowly progressed from out east to the Midwest, and it just seemed like a very sporadic. It's in this county. Now it's way over in this county. Now it's over in this county. It did. You can tell just how easily it seems to just hitchhike a ride and show up in these random-ish like locations.
Well, it is. We've had, like I said, been monitoring for this for a couple years, and since that initial positive find, we different reports have come in. There's lots of people that are looking for it, plus general outreach to the community. We get information sent in, and so a couple examples, if you will. Um, an Ace hardware store a couple counties over from Cook County. We found a dead spotted lanternfly. They had basically cattle water tanks that were stacked and shipped. And so one had wedged itself down in a water tank. It was dead. You think about FedEx. I had a report the other day from a FedEx worker who found 2 dead ones in the FedEx trailer. So they have a uncanny way of finding their way into things. And sometimes it's really hard for them to survive getting from one location to the next. And you think about like those big statewide jumps, and there's reports of, well, we found a dead one in a wheel well of an airplane in California. So it shows that they can move very randomly, but they don't always survive the ride, I guess.
So, okay, Kelly, let's say maybe we live up in Cook County, or if someone's listening or watching us right now. What could we or this person expect to see? Like right now, like it's confirmed in my neighborhood. What do I need to expect?
So within the past couple months, here, last 2 months or so, reports are really starting to ramp up in that Cook County area. And even then, it's not all the way across the county. We have areas that we're getting repeated results in. So what people are finding are single adults that have either flown somewhere or getting caught up in traffic, or you think about insects or moths even that get caught up in wind. And so they're easily moved. And so there are a couple of ways, you could be, if you live in the area, be in your yard or the alley or a parking lot of the local grocery store. And maybe there's trees around, maybe there's not. And you could see a single adult on a tree or on your car. You could see a couple on maybe the base of a tree. We've gotten reports of people waiting on the platform for a metro, for the train, and it lands on their shoulder, or in the train and they see it crawling on the ceiling of the train. So it can be found anywhere. And so we're, I guess, just expecting, we have some localized infestations that we're monitoring. And from those infestations, as we go out from that epicenter, more single reports. And so I think what you're going to find or have the potential to find is going to depend on the time of year. So right now in September, adults are present. Males and females are out and about, they're mating, and females are laying eggs. And they'll lay eggs from September and October. Adults will be present probably through early November. Like you mentioned, it's very warm. So warm is good for insect survival. They'll probably be around until the first frost, and maybe repeated frosts. I can remember last year getting a couple reports from people who were out raking leaves and found them under leaf litter. So till November probably is a really good time till you see the adults. And what we're doing from November through early spring is that they're overwintering as eggs. In egg masses, they can lay them anywhere. They'll lay them on trees, buildings, on firewood, on telephone poles. Research has shown that it likes rusty metal. And so they'll lay them in columns and cover them with a kind of looks like putty, a whitish cream putty. And over time, it kind of gets a little dry and cracked. And then as we get through winter and into spring, April, early May, those egg masses, the nymphs are going to hatch. And they're actually pretty small, a couple millimeters. They're black with white spots and kind of hard to see. Think the size of a large tick, if you will. And it really isn't until they start progressing through additional instars. They go through 4 nymphal stages. As they get a little bigger, they become a little bit more noticeable. So early instars are black with white spots. And as they get into the 3rd and 4th instar, they become really vibrant red. And then they have white spots with some black stripes. And I think those are probably something next spring that people would be more apt to find in areas, usually around their host plants. And Tree of Heaven is a really good host plant to use as a sentinel plot, if you will. Keep an eye, especially if you're near areas with an infestation or where spotted lanternfly has been found. Keeping an eye on that Tree of Heaven is a good potential indicator. And then as you get then into summer, towards July, adults will emerge. And so the cycle then continues. And adults are fairly distinct, although we do have a lot of potential insects that can be confused with it. But they're about an inch long. They have light brown tan wings with black spots on them. And then their underwings are really vibrant, bright, orangey red with some black bars or stripes towards the outer edge of that wing. And then if their wings are spread, sometimes you can see their abdomen, and that is really bright yellow. It's very eye-catching. Once people see it, see a picture of it, they're maybe a little more apt to take notice of things like that.
And you have them in Jacksonville. If anyone's, for people listening, Ken's holding a dead spotted lanternfly up it's pinned in a box. So yeah, he doesn't have a live one.
Yeah, no, so yeah, with like the identification, when they first showed up, pictures would always be with the wings spread. But I think usually you see them with the wings full, right? You don't see those bright red hind wings all that much.
No, you really don't. And I have been getting more when you talk to some people that have seen them, maybe as something has like fluttered by and landed, the flash of red kind of grabs their attention. Yeah, most of the time when you see the adults, their wings are going to be folded over their back. And most plant hoppers are like that. It's almost like a wedge or a triangle shaped body. And so you're looking for that tannish clay colored insect with the black spots.
So yeah, I guess they are a little camouflage, maybe a bit more difficult to see because in my mind's eye, never having seen them physically in person, I'm thinking, oh, I just got to look for that red. Just got to look for that red, but you might not see that.
Yeah, and I think some of the things that we get submitted that are easily confused with spotted lanternfly, some of the sphinx moths, because they have that brown tan coloration, and then they have the pink hind wings. They're a lot larger than what you're going to see with a spotted lanternfly. We also get maybe some assassin bugs or some of these things that we tend to see in fall climbing around, even like milkweed bugs or box elder bugs. Because like you mentioned, Chris, in your mind, you're thinking, I've got to see that red orange color. And like you said, that's not necessarily always true.
So they're not here in my neck of the woods. Now you mentioned some of the places to look for. So I'm going to be scouting where I'm thinking like rusty basketball posts, Tree of Heaven, where should I be scouting if they have not been located in my area?
Tree of Heaven is my number one go-to, just because that is a host that they will move to. But things like telephone poles, firewood, things like that are other good things. Or if you know, like campgrounds, things like that, or if you know people that have moved back and forth from areas where spotted lanternfly is known to occur would be a possibility. It's really hard to try to give people good advice on this one because they show up so randomly in different places. But good places to start would be like some host plants like Tree of Heaven.
So we do have quite a bit of Tree of Heaven. Would you suggest killing Tree of Heaven, controlling it, leaving a few? Like how many Tree of Heaven do we need for scouting?
Not necessarily a lot. Like you said, it's everywhere. It's invasive, it's aggressive. It's really not something we like to have around, but particularly in some of these urban areas where spotted lanternfly is present, it's everywhere. It's along some of the interstates, alleys, along the train rail, things like that. Now, if you are a homeowner and you're dealing with some in your yard, getting rid of Tree of Heaven, you can cut that thing down. You know, if you're in an area that has spotted lanternfly, you could potentially leave one as like I said, we call them sentinel plants or sentinel plots, where we have one good area or host plant that, I mean, if it's the only one there, if they're around, that's what they're going to go to. So you could leave one if you really wanted to. And then, like I said, that it is a pretty aggressively growing plant. Cutting it down is probably the recommended way to get rid of it, but you be aware that it regenerates pretty easily. And so the need for a herbicide might be there as well.
I have them a lot. Every time I seem to cut one down, treat it with herbicide, 5,000 suckers sprout from the root system. It's I don't know if it's a winning or losing battle, but they are a tough tree.
It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of
Yes.
dedication to be that person that's going to control that. And you know, that's why I'm an entomologist, because most of the time I can get these things on one go.
Yep.
All right. So if somebody were to see a spotted lanternfly, what should they do? And I guess, does it matter, you know, if you're in Cook County, or I guess the rest of the state where we don't have it? Is there kind of a different approach to that?
There's a couple different ways you can look at this. We have a email. It's lanternfly@illinois.edu, where we are recommending people to report when they believe they have found spotted lanternfly or they think they see that. With any good report, a photo is necessary. Unless you actually have the specimen, we can look at real things too, but we absolutely need a photo to positively confirm spotted lanternfly. So a photo, when you saw it, where you saw it. We map every report that comes into that email, and that's all internal. We ask for an address or nearest intersection. We don't release that kind of information out to the general public, but it gives us a good idea of where these reports are coming from. So when we get repeated reports in a neighborhood, we know, oh, there might be an infestation nearby. And we can work with cities or towns to let them know, hey, this is what's going on in your area, and things like that. So the more information and more specific information you can share, it's always appreciated. And that email goes to myself. We have a team that answer those. Scott Shermer with the Department of Ag. We take quite a few of those emails that come in, actually all of them between the two of us, and answer them and add it to our database and plot on our map. But it also gets copied to USDA just to kind of keep on the pulse of what's going on. But honestly, you know, I also keep telling people, if you can't get a hold of me, or maybe you don't remember what the email address is, go to Extension. Go find Ken, go find Chris, go find whoever's local, and they can help you out, and they're always willing to pass that information along to us as well.
And I'll say, for pictures, make sure they're in focus and relatively close.
That is true. Usually with the spotted lanternfly photos, that's a mouthful. They've been pretty good. I think we've only had to request some additional photos once or twice. And that was people thought they were reporting egg masses, which can sometimes get confused with lichen or things like that that may be growing on a tree in the neighborhood. But we have a spotted lanternfly response team that's working on detection and spread information. We also are putting together, we have a homeowner's guide because, you know, for most of the state, we are in a detection mode. We are still looking, we're still wanting to find out where it's at. Is it just insects that have hitchhiked, or is it insects where there might be a population in an area? But for different areas within Cook County, they have like, it's here. So we need to figure out a way to help homeowners and public works groups. So we have a guide that kind of gives a rundown of what spotted lanternfly is, why it's important, and then what can you do, whether that be reporting or dealing with it on your property. And so, you know, I'm going to send that over to you guys to share with the group as well.
Excellent. Well, okay, I'm curious, is there a way to keep spotted lanternfly out of your yard? Like, I can give my neighbor a couple Japanese beetle traps and I'm in the clear all summer long as they keep them up. Is there any way to just keep them away, keep them out?
You
Force
don't know
field.
how incredibly proud I am of you right now with the Japanese beetle traps. Because yes, they're Japanese beetles have pheromones that attract to each other. So the best way to use a trap is to give it to everyone around you.
Yes.
That's not necessarily true with spotted lanternfly, unfortunately. So there's really not a way to keep them out. There are insecticides that can kill spotted lanternfly plant hoppers, and they're pretty broad spectrum. So if you're in an area, you're like, oh, I've got 5 and we're going to spray the yard. Well, you may kill those 5, but you're going to kill everything else in the yard too. So think about pollinators, beneficials, things like that. And then, you know, they are very mobile. So if you have something they like, they're just going to keep coming back in. So unfortunately, there's not an easy way to keep them at bay. But you know, squishing them, it's a surefire way to kill them. And when we get to the point where there could be bigger infestations, then I think, you know, our management strategies will definitely change a little bit.
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting 2 of our Master Gardener's grandkids. They came over before their school started from Pennsylvania a few weeks ago. Pennsylvania must be doing a good job of teaching kids what to do about spotted lanternflies, because they were telling me all about squishing them and stomping on them and smashing them. And they were so happy to educate me, an extension person, about spotted lanternfly and how they deal with them out there, which is just stepping on them. And they also talked about like sticky paper. Is that something to try?
So we're getting in deep, and you know, we are really going to educate the masses today.
There you go.
So the marketing and outreach that Pennsylvania has done has been amazing. They've been dealing with it for a decade now. They kind of know where it's at, so their approach is a little differently, but they don't need, like, go ahead and send me a photo, then stomp on it. But it's everywhere. People know to squash them. They know to stomp them. And, you know, we had a colleague that was out in DC for a meeting, and he had to send the group, and he's like, you'll not believe this. Like, there's hand-drawn posters of stomping spotted lanternfly, and it's just well known. Everybody knows what it is. They know what to do. And it's something that I think we'd love to have here, you know, to something to catch on that much. Now, when you talk about sticky paper, there's lots of research going on with spotted lanternfly right now. And so my bug nerdiness is going to show. Ken, are you ready? So spotted lanternfly nymphs, they like to climb upwards. And so think about tree of heaven. If there's an egg mass, they're going to hatch. And I talk with my hands, sorry. They are going to climb up, 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 up. And then they're out, and then they drop down, and then they climb back up again. So sticky paper around bases of trees. They've tried things like that. Off-target effects are a little bit questionable because other things can fly into it, get stuck. And even you think insects and beneficials, pollinators, things like that. But they're also having issues with birds as well. So everything's kind of, the surveying and trapping keeps getting revised. And there's some great resources on different research methods or different things they're trying. And I'll shoot some of those links over. You guys can provide as well if people really like to get into this stuff. But they have different types of traps they're working on. A circle trap and a lampshade trap. So think of a wrap around a tree, and then there's like a cover, kind of like a lampshade. And so they found that adults will like climb up underneath those. It's kind of protected and will lay eggs in that. Or so there's just lots of cool things they're learning about the behavior and different things like host plants that they like or don't like, and timing of things. And so research just continues to evolve with spotted lanternfly, particularly in those big areas like Pennsylvania and New York and Virginia, where populations are much, much higher, and they have these concentrated areas where they can try these things out.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a Saturday Night Live skit feature an invasive insect until I saw one with a guy dressed up as a spotted lanternfly. And then the other, it might have been last fall, but I tuned into a Major League Baseball game, and they were showing all of the spotted lanternflies crawling around on the walls of the stadium. People know all about this out east.
They really do. And like, it's cool in a bad kind of way.
Yes.
And it is, and it's, Ken had sent me the link, and I'd seen it too, where they were picking up, sometimes here in Illinois, during bird migration, you'll get the weatherman. He's like, oh, I can see the birds migrating, and they're picking up on their radar. And so it was about 2 weeks ago, they thought they were picking up spotted lanternfly movement on radar as well. And so when you get into areas with big populations, and insects get caught up in the air and jet streams, and they actually can go really, really high in the air. So again, science is cool. Insects are bad, not all of them, but this is a bad one. But we're finding out really cool things about it to help us learn how it moves and how to manage it.
So I remember when they first showed up, not first, but after they've been in Pennsylvania for a while, you'd hear stories of people like going out to new areas where you just had these mass populations, like all the honeydew they're producing. It's like raining. Are they still seeing that out there?
They are. So as a plant hopper, we talked about their mouth parts, and it basically sucks juices, and then they emit this sugary substance called honeydew. Think like aphids. Aphids are something we're familiar with here in Illinois. And so, not only is it coating the plants that it's on, or the trees that it's on, and you can go to YouTube. I used to have one in a presentation years ago, like Ken said, when we first were learning about it, and you can like just see it dropping because there was so much onto the understory in a wooded area. But it's also coating swing sets, sidewalks, different things like that. So it's kind of a huge nuisance out east as well. At some of our meetings, we talked a lot about impact to the grape industry for vineyards. A direct impact is injury to grapes, but in a era of agritourism, a lot of vineyards also have weddings or have, the come try, and they have a sipping area, or people aren't going to want to get married with spotted lanternflies flying around them, or go out and sit on a sticky bench or things like that. So, there's been stories where we've read of, not only has the grape industry bottom line with their wine or jelly or things like that, all the agritourism type stuff can feel an impact as well. And then you think about, just the impact of, citizens' general life of being able to go to the park or sit outside in their backyard or have their kids go play on the play set.
Spotted lanternfly can be the new confetti at weddings.
Oh, if only we could bottle it up.
We just need the wings though, Ken. We don't want all of it.
Mark my words. I bet we could go on Etsy, and I bet they've got earrings that have been put in with the wings and things like that. So there's all sorts of ways we can use them.
I'm sure. Sure. I'm thinking of, so Southern Illinois has an amazing like grape and wine industry, agritourism down there. I visited there several times. Boy, I'm thinking of sitting on their back patios. There's so many arbors and pergolas with vines.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, you're right. You'd be just showered in honeydew.
Hopefully we can avoid that here in Illinois. And
Yes.
if it is, it's years down the road, but it's real things that different areas out east have dealt with over time.
Yeah. And then all the sooty mold that moves in.
And the city mold.
Oh, that's a good. Now, am I gonna have to start asking people, do you have aphids or do you have spotted lanternfly? Now we have to be more ask more
No.
questions.
I think you have some time. I hope you have some time.
I hope so. I hope so. Well, emerald ash borers seem to travel along the railroad corridors in my area, at least. It's where it like always it seemed to pop up in all the counties I cover, right along the railroad and neighborhoods right there. So I'll keep my eye out, looking a tree of heaven along the railroad.
Perfect. I will sign you up to help me do surveys next year.
All right. I'll be out there in the field. Well, that was a lot of great information about spotted lanternfly. We are going to put a link down in the show notes of if you think you see this in Illinois, where you can go to report it, and also an excellent homeowner's guide for Illinois residents on spotted lanternfly as well. Well, the Good Growing Podcast, production of University of Illinois Extension, edited this week by Ken Johnson. Kelly Estes, thank you so much for joining us today to talk all things spotted lanternfly. And you know what? It was honestly news to me maybe a month or so ago, and we emailed and you're like, yeah, we have it in Illinois. I'm like, really? I had no idea.
Maybe one of our best kept secrets that we need to just shout to the world at this point. Yep.
So sorry to all the people who asked me maybe in the last year about this, like, we're just waiting to find it. It's here. We found it. So thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And Ken, thank you as always, and for joining us, talking about your favorite thing this week, bugs, insects, technically, I guess, speaking.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly. That was a lot of good information there. And yes, if you need help looking for them, I'll help you too. And Chris?
Best for both of you.
And Chris, thank you as always. And let's do this again next week.
Oh, we shall do this again next week. The horticultural hijinks will continue in this dry fall that we're having right now. We've talked about being droughty and no rain with the expectation it would cause it to rain. That hasn't happened yet. So we'll see what we talk about next week. Probably watering our plants. So listeners, thank you for doing what you do best, and that is listening. Or if you watched us on YouTube, watching. And as always, keep on growing. Welcome to the Good Growing Podcast. I am Chris Enroth, horticulture. Wow. Sorry, Ken. You got a lot of work to do this week. Okay. Now we'll do this for real.